What if I told you that a tiny, windswept island off the northern coast of Sri Lanka was once ruled by an Irishman? Not just ruled, but shaped, transformed, and even populated by his own bloodline. Yes, you heard that right. And what if I told you that his rule was so unchecked, so absolute, that he governed like a king, laying down laws, controlling the island's horses, farmlands, and justice system with an iron grip? But here's where it gets even more intriguing. What if I told you that his legacy didn't just end with the ruins he left behind, but with the very people of the island itself? That his indulgence, his promiscuity, led to the birth of a new mixed-race community, one that even today carries echoes of his Irish ancestry in their striking blue-green eyes. This is the forgotten tale of Lieutenant Edward Nolan, an Irishman who ruled Delft Island like his own personal kingdom, leaving behind a trail of scandal, controversy, and descendants. Buckle up, because this is a story you won't find in your history textbooks. In 1811, deep within the British colonial administration, an ambitious Irish officer was given an unusual assignment. His name was Lieutenant Edward Nolan, a military engineer in the 4th Ceylon Regiment. His mission? To experiment with growing flax, a plant used to make canvas and rope for the British Navy. At the time, Delft Island was little more than an isolated, windswept rock surrounded by turquoise waters but offering little else. The Portuguese and the Dutch had previously used it for breeding wild horses, and a small Tamil population lived there, surviving in harsh conditions with no rivers, limited fresh water, and unpredictable monsoon winds. It was in fact the Dutch who had christened the isle Delft after the city in the Netherlands, but its Tamil name Nedunthievu translates to Long Island. Even today it remains remote and largely untouched, home to about 5,000 people, just as many wild horses, and remnants of a colonial past that refuses to fade away. When Nolan arrived, he quickly realized something. He was in charge and no one was watching. Delft was far from Colombo's reach, and in the vast British Empire, this remote corner was a world of its own. And so, rather than merely conducting experiments with flax, Nolan seized the island as his own fiefdom. The British government paid him a handsome salary of £500 a year, an enormous sum for the time. With no direct oversight, Nolan transformed himself into Delft's absolute ruler. He wasn't just managing agriculture, he was even appointed sitting magistrate, meaning he had full control over justice on the island. He built 60 freshwater wells, introduced European-style dry stone walls, and established a canal system to help with water distribution. Nolan also built himself a grand mansion with thick limestone walls where he held court. He controlled law and order, collected taxes, and even had his own messengers, including a fleet of trained pigeons to communicate with the authorities in Jaffna. The remnants of his dovecotes used to house these messenger birds still stand near Delft's Divisional Secretariat's office. More importantly, he took charge of Delft's wild horses, the only indigenous horse population in Sri Lanka, formerly Ceylon, which were originally introduced by the Portuguese and Dutch. Under his command, new Arabian and Persian stallions were imported to the island, strengthening the breed. Even today, the wild horses of Delft roam the island, a direct legacy of Nolan's rule. But there was another side to Nolan's administration, one whispered about in hushed voices. With absolute power came absolute indulgence, and that's where the story takes a darker turn. Isolated on Delft, surrounded by subordinates who dared not defy him, Nolan became notorious for his liaisons with local women. According to English travel writer John Gimlette, who collected local accounts, Nolan was infamous for using his position to seduce and exploit the island's women. Some say he was charming, others say he was ruthless. In 1819, the rumors had escalated to a point that something more sinister happened. A formal petition was submitted to the British authorities in Jaffna, alleging that Nolan had abused his judicial powers to gain access to women. One story speaks of a woman who rejected his advances only to be sentenced to 12 lashes. Another tells of a woman who, after bearing a child of obvious European descent, threw herself into a well, unable to face the shame. despite these disturbing allegations, Nolan remained untouchable. Even after Nolan left the island in 1824, his legacy lived on, not just in Delft's landscape, but in its people. For generations, the descendants of his relationships remained on the island, distinguished by their lighter skin and blue or green eyes, features not common in native Tamil communities. At one point, this group became known as Nolan Parayas, outcasts neither fully accepted by the British nor by the local Tamil population. Many left Delft, settling in villages across Jaffna, where traces of their Irish ancestry can still be seen today. Even more striking is that many of Delft's modern inhabitants, particularly those descended from Nolan's bloodline, aren't even aware of their true ancestry. In January 1824, after 13 years of absolute rule, Nolan was recalled to Ireland, where he died in 1840. The British never punished him for the complaints against him. His rule simply ended. But Delft would never be the same. The horses, the stone walls, the freshwater wells, and perhaps most intriguing, the mixed-race descendants of Nolan still remain, scattered across northern Sri Lanka and even overseas as part of the Tamil diaspora. Nolan disappeared from Sri Lankan history, but one can't help but wonder, did he ever think about the island he once ruled, the children he left behind, the people whose lives he shaped, and most importantly, how many in Sri Lanka today unknowingly carry the blood of this forgotten Irish ruler? Edward Nolan came to Delft as a soldier, ruled as a king, and left as a mystery. His story is buried in the ruins of time, forgotten by most, remembered by few. But next time you see the wild horses of Delft or hear about the island's ruins, remember, beneath the surface lies a story far more intriguing than any colonial record would dare to tell. So what do you think? Was Nolan a tyrant, a product of his time, or something more? And what happened to his descendants? Could some of them still be living among us, unaware of their true Irish ancestry? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed uncovering this forgotten chapter of Sri Lankan history, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories. Until next time, this is me, Zamir Karim, signing off, uncovering history one story at a time.